We're back for another episode, and this time, again, you may notice Dan's not here. I explained it in the Kive X-Bus review. Go and check that out. But basically, he's taking some time out because he's busy doing a degree and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm cracking on my own. Hopefully, you're not going to give me a hard time about that. I'm just going to crack on and give you all the plugin reviews you're used to. So let's do that. Today, we're looking at something new from Plugin Alliance. Lindell Audio are back with the EQ825, which, yeah, wasn't expecting this one. It's a pretty interesting EQ. Let's talk about, is it? Yeah, again, I've got out of doing shouting shit because, hey, you can have too much of a good thing, and I've done a good one, and that's the one you're going to hear every time. Anyway, let's crack on. So yeah, Lindell Audio have just released the EQ825. Interesting, based on a piece of hardware originally made by EAR, or Esoteric Audio Research. They were based in Huntingdon, which is actually not that far from here. And I can't remember when it came out now, but it was a while ago. I'm going to guess maybe 90s, early 2000s, something like that. Mastering EQ, 5-band plus high and low filters. Very, very highly regarded passive tube design. Crazy amounts of money. You can still get them, but they're expensive. A few years ago, IGS, the Polish company who make fantastic hardware, they brought out a version which is a bit cheaper. Loads of people love that too. So it's an EQ that people respect. Very much a mastering thing. It's not a channel EQ. I mean, you can use it where you want. It's a plugin, but that's not what it's meant for. It's very much a mastering thing. So yeah, Lindell have done the magic with it and modelled one. And let's start by looking at it. I mean, damn, again, they've done something really, really cool here in that, much like Pulsar, they have done the hardware looking bit at the bottom, and then they've given us this sort of graphic display bit, which you can turn it off if you want, but I'm a big fan of not using it, because then you get what your ears prefer rather than what your eyes prefer, which is a better way to do things. But in this case, and quite often in mastering now, I do like to see what I'm doing. It doesn't always make a lot of sense, but I think it's a really nice addition. I think it's a good move. I think it's why Pulsar have done so well. Their EQs with the displays, they really work. I'm a big fan of them. So this is great. Big thumbs up to Lindell for doing that. Let's talk about the design. So it's a 5-band EQ with switchable frequency selection, no Q selection at all. It's basically predetermined Q, and it's kind of narrow. So you quite often have to be careful doing boosts, because it's quite narrow. So when you boost too much, it sounds very odd. Doesn't sound very musical. So be careful with that. We have high and low pass filters. So your 3 middle frequencies are selectable and bell curves basically, and the 2 outer ones are high and low shelves. You've then got on the plugin, which wasn't on the hardware, you've got input and output gain. You've got THD control. You can add a little bit more of the valvey sound. I've never used the original or the IGS. I've heard a lot of people talk about the sound of them and how they had a sound. So I'm guessing that must be the valves. Apparently each band had 3 valves and multiple transformers. So that's impressive. That's probably why it had such a strong sound. So you've got input and output gain in the THD. So by pushing in the right amount and balancing it with the THD, you can probably get pretty close to the sound of the hardware unit. What else have we got? Obviously we've got the high pass and low pass. You can choose the slope octave, which is kind of useful. As with a lot of stuff that Plugin Alliance do, not necessarily Lindell, but they have added the mono maker kind of thing. It's a little bit different to normal in that it's set at 200 hertz and you just turn it on and you can add more or less of it, which is interesting. You'll see from the test at the end, all the tests are at the end, keep an eye on the test at the end. It's quite useful, it works. So yeah, I haven't got a problem with that it's not sort of sweepable, it works. We've then got this thing called the octave filler. and you have a control which goes from minimum to maximum, and it says intensity. And then you've got a little screw control where you can set the frequency, and then you drive it up. And it's a weird thing to describe. It's some kind of... it reminded me a little bit of max bass, something like that. But it adds saturation. It does something to thicken the sound up. I like it. It's a nice thing to add. What else have we got? That's probably about it. You've got the option of clicking and dragging on the nodes if you want, so you can do it that way, but it's quite weird because they sort of move in steps because it's a stepped EQ, so you can't drag it to wherever you want. It will just snap to the next nearest place that you're allowed to cut or boost from. What else can I tell you about it? That's kind of about it. Let's get to the demo situation. It's Plugin Alliance, so it's 14 days. You know, download, blah, blah, blah. I'll mess with it. 14 days. No problem. No funny noises. None of that stuff. Price-wise, full price, $150, which is, you know, that's quite pokey for a plugin, for an EQ. Maybe a mastering EQ that you're going to use in a mastering situation. That's probably all right. That's not the end of the world. In the sale right now, $49.99. It's Plugin Alliance, so if you've got their subscription, you'll just have it. It will come down probably to $29.99 at some point in a sale, so keep an eye out for that. What do I think score-wise? I'm going to go 3, which you might think is a bit low, but I think it would have been nice to have an option that you could sweep it. I know that wouldn't be faithful to the original, but it would be a useful extra. And I just think value-wise, it'll get there, but 150 is a bit pokey. $49.99, that's fair. I just think it's not quite as fully featured as it could be. Sound-wise, I think it sounds great. I think it comes down to usefulness. That's another one where it's dropped a star for me, in that I can't think what EQ I'm going to drop out of my mastering chain to slot this into. It might be different with the hardware, because the hardware then might become, okay, so this is my thing where I make my broad sweeps before I go back into the box. I can understand how it would work as a piece of hardware like that. But for a piece of software, I'm not sure it's useful enough for me. Anyway, it's not shit. It gets 3 stars, which is more than half. So it's all right. Anyway, there you go. So that was the Plugin Alliance Lindell Audio EQ825. Demo's coming up at the end. You could like the video, that would be cool. You could subscribe to the channel or become a channel member. We've got the Instagram, which is Studio Life 101. There's the website with the top 5, which has been refreshed recently. There's a bunch of courses on there, including my new mixing course number 2. Really proud of that. People are loving it. Have a look. And yeah, the demo's coming up. We'll see you next time. Adios.